In this video, we're going to navigate through some basic features of the Spatial Editor. So as you can see here, we have an empty scene. And to get started, we go ahead and import a model. So click on that and select the model. And the model is now being imported. This might take some time. In the meantime, we can take a look around. After the model is imported, I can click on that and go to the top assembly. You can see here the model scale can be changed. For example, my model has it by default in millimeters, but if your model doesn't have this information, you will be asked about it when you import it. And here on the Model Explorer, I can select some pieces off the model, or maybe the whole model from the root, or even multiple items altogether. And here it depends on how your model has been built. So maybe it's built in assemblies, therefore groups of items, or not. Here my model just has the main root of the whole model and separate items, but they could be grouped together in assemblies. And by selecting them either on the side or here on the model, I can move it. Let's say take the hood off here, maybe rotate it, why not? And of course I can always select the whole model and reset all to return to its initial position after I've been playing around with it a bit. So this is basically how you can move around with the model, and of course you have the option to quick rotate. So let's say for example you import your model and it looks like this on the side, you can straight away select it all and move it on the same axis the other side, and you can have your model sitting up straight. It's an easy way to do this through this menu, but you can also do it using the transformation gizmo. Since we've taken a look on how to move around with the model, we can already get started with adding some special reference to our workflow. Here we have arrow markers and QR code markers. Let's start with the QR code marker. As you can see, my UI is kind of frozen until I snap the marker onto the model, but then I'm able to move it around using the gizmo. Or again, maybe I want to use the menu on the right, so I can change the rotation and the position here as well. And again, I can make some small fixes here, put it a bit on the front, a little bit on the left. And this, of course, the distance of the marker here to the model reflects to the distance of the marker to the real-life component when the user opens this workflow in the workplace. So keep that in mind when you're placing your marker. Select a position that is comfortable to scan, close to the model and close to the real-life component. So here let's also add an arrow marker for the mobile devices. Again, I can just move it around. So maybe revert that and change its position and its rotation and place it a bit closer to the model. That looks okay. So now I have my markers, so my user could scan the markers and get started with the workflow. But let's take a look on how things are connected here. So here we see the workflow start and workflow end nodes, and my two markers that I have just now added to the workflow. So to start, we'll need to connect the workflow start to the markers. We're connected to both the markers, so in any case the user will scan one of them and they can move on with the workflow. But by default, this model is not visible to the user in the Workplace app straight away. To do that, I'm adding a scene state node here, so this will be connected to both markers. And I will use the scene state node to make the model visible. So let's say here I'm naming it all visible because I want to make all my model parts visible. and I'm clicking on Add Scene State Change. I have options for interactable, visible, and recent transform, but I am selecting so the user can move a part or makes things visible or invisible or reset it back to the beginning. So if you move it, you can change it back to its initial state. But I've chosen here visible, and I'm clicking on Add Targets to select what I want to be visible. And again, I can select them here, maybe control and select for multiple pieces. But since I know I already want to select the whole model, I can use the menu on the left, the Model Explorer, and I select the root and press on Enter already. So now, after a user would scan their marker, straight away the model would appear in front of them. And since that is not taken care of, I can already start by adding content. Let's say I just want to add a pin. Again, in the same way like the markers, I need to snap it first on the model and then move it. And I want a generic pin, something to give some information, introductory information to the coffee machine. So I'll just put it here in the front. Again, use the transformation gizmos to move it around, rotate it when needed. And I will give it a name. Let's say intro, very descriptive. Again, I could use the menu here on the right. And I can also add either text or media files like video and audio and PDFs, or add a hologram out of the model, or add lines if I would like to highlight things on my model. Let's add some text. Let's say this is intro text. Maybe I can also select an icon here. So when I click OK, I can see this over my pin. And this is what the user would see over their pin while running their workflow. And now to finish, I need to connect my pin to the workflow end. And here we have gone through, let's lay out here and scale. We can see our whole workflow, and we have gone through the basic navigation of the Spatial Editor software.